Hi, and welcome to the Bear and Maiden Fair podcast. Each week we recap the latest episode of Game of Thrones with less than accurate discussions. We try to fill in the gaps, predict the future, and discuss the merits of attractive people. No promises on no spoilers, but promises we didn't know they were spoilers. I'm the Bear, Liz Loxley.
And I'm the Maiden Fair, Mia Moore.
So Mia, what did we mess up on last week?
All right, so this is going to be a regular segment because we're probably going to mess up every week, like we mentioned.
And
so
we don't need mean emails. We normally figure it out ourselves. But if you send us one, please be really nice because we are both very sensitive.
Our egos are a little bruised, but that's okay. Anyway, so one thing that we messed up last week was I talked about someone who's not even mentioned by name in the series. Her name is... I thought it was Lyness Hightower, who is a former Mormont, but her name is actually, oh God, where did the wiki page go?
Lyanna?
Yeah, Lyanna Mormont. And that's why I got it mixed up, because there's also a Lyanna Stark, and she's actually named after Lyanna Stark. So she's actually a 10-year-old who's currently the lady of Bear Island. So she, the only importance to the story is that Stannis was like, I need the North, and this was her reply, is that she's only loyal to the Starks. So that's literally it, and I'm sorry for the confusion. And also, thanks for the correction, because I was confused on that too.
Yeah. All right, and then the second thing wasn't necessarily a thing we got wrong, but just a thing we were discussing that we didn't know the answer to, which is the name of the planet that Game of Thrones is, and we kept calling it Earth or the world, and it's known as, quote-unquote, the known world. And there are 4 continents, but the only 2 they talk about in the series are Westeros and Essos. So there's that.
So let's dive in. So we are on Season 5, Episode 3. This episode is called The High Sparrow.
Woo! All right, so this week we're going to actually start talking about the last week on Game of Thrones, because both of us were like, hello, spoilers.
Yeah, I was literally so mad. So she watched the episode about an hour before I did and texted me that the last week on Game of Thrones segment was especially spoilery this week. And I was like, oh, I bet it's not that bad. But when they show us people that we haven't seen in multiple seasons or in a very long time, or we don't know where they're at, I know they're just trying to remind us of what's happened and who they are, but it's so spoilery.
Yeah, because specifically we're talking about Jorah. And now, mind you, I love Jorah, and I'll discuss this more later, but he was in the preview for the season, so I knew he was going to be in it, but he was shown from the back, so only people who have very, very close details of knowing what his outfit looks like would have known that was Jorah. So, to show him then, it takes away the moment that you're supposed to not know it's Jorah in the show.
And what's terrible is it wasn't even that it took away, because I liked the cinematography in his part, and we'll talk about that more later. But as soon as that scene started, even before I realized, where they were or what was even happening, I was like, oh, this has to be the scene that Jorah's in. So I was really mad about that. I hate
because it was at the very end. It had to be Jorah in this scene. So, all of the things where they're trying to lead up with Tyrion, you knew it was going to be Jorah that overheard it. So it took away what could have been so much better.
Yeah, it would have been more powerful if I didn't realize. And my boyfriend's a really casual fan, and he happened to watch the episode with me this week. And I complained as soon as they showed Jorah in the last time on Game of Thrones. And then whenever I figured it out before he did, but then a couple minutes later with the scene still going on, he's like, oh, Jorah's going to come out, isn't he? And I was like, so even he knew. So that's when I think it's a problem.
Yeah. So now on to the actual episode. We start off in Braavos.
Actually, I wanted to talk about the name of the episode, because last week we had a discussion about how the religion in Game of Thrones seems to be a really big part, but in the TV show they don't really talk about it very much. Well, last week we talked about religion becoming more and more important in the plot, and the name of this is High Sparrow, which is referring to the highest person in the Sparrow religion, whatever it's called.
It's Order of the Sparrows? Am I crazy?
Yeah.
That sounds right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Sure.
Let's go with that. Please feel free to send us an angry tweet if that's wrong. But what's interesting is I actually didn't think that was the most important plot in this episode, but because it was the title, I paid more attention to it, and I think it's going to become a bigger and bigger thing. And we also did see another religion mentioned in this episode, a couple different references, actually.
And even last episode, the House of Black and White is arguably religious because it talks to whatever the weird religion that's going on in the House of Black and White is, which I know it's a religion. I don't know much about it yet, but
I accidentally wikied it, so I will try not to talk about it because I'm not sure they're even going to get into it.
I think they have to a certain degree. Anyways, so we start off in Bravos, and it shows a whole bunch of different statues of gods, and I don't know if they're all the 7 or if they are from different religions around Westeros.
They're from different religions because, and I don't recognize the statues, but she's like, oh, I see the drowned god, I see this god, and the drowned god is actually from the religion in, where's the place? The Iron Isles, where Greyjoy is from?
Yeah.
He goes back there like a couple seasons ago, and one of his uncles is now worshiping the drowned god. So I know that's a different religion than the 7.
Yeah, then I know there's like a God's Wind, and I think the mother was there as well.
Yeah, she's part of the 7. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so it shows Arya sweeping for the first time of many times in this episode. And
A+ acting on Maisie's part.
To just sweep and make it interesting.
Actually, she's not even, I noticed this, and this felt so mean to me to think, but I was like, you're not even doing a good job sweeping. You have to go in squares.
I thought the same thing. I was like, you're just swishing dirt back and forth.
She's never swept in her life.
I know. And then again, at her age, I probably hadn't swept either. I still haven't really. I ignore that one.
Oh, I meant Arya. Like, maybe it was a characterization thing, but you're probably right. Maisie herself has probably also never swept.
Yeah, I meant Maisie. So what happens in this scene is quote-unquote Jockin, because he's not anyone, but we're going to call him Jockin for the sake of knowing who the hell we're talking about. Gives a man the water. A man either he passes out, he could potentially be dead, he could potentially just be in like a comatose, we don't know, in front of what I think is supposed to be the Maiden statue, or the one god that they future talk about. I don't know.
I also think that before he gives him the water, they say Valar Morghulis, Valar Doharis?
Sure.
Because, I think that's what they say. I wrote it down. And I'm pretty sure that, Jockin, whatever, however you say that, my audiobook guy says it different, so I never know.
That's why you say the names differently. I wondered why you've said the names differently from the show so much.
Because it's a stupid audiobook guy. At least I don't say Brian of Toth.
That makes oh God, that answers so many questions.
Oh God, I'm so sorry. I should have mentioned it previously. I can't believe we're on the 4th episode and I've just started saying it. Okay. And a lot of these characters, especially like Jake and Hagar, I didn't know who he was before the audiobook really. I didn't catch on, so that makes sense to me. But I'm pretty sure he says Valar Morghulis. No, wait. Whatever. One of them says it and the other one says the other one, and then the guy dies, so I'm pretty sure he was like, all people die. And then he was like, yes, and all people serve. And I'm because we don't know, I'm wondering if that's how you become a faceless assassin.
See, that's what I was thinking, is that he has served and now he is quote unquote dying to become like that. That's what my thought is that he's not dead and that he's coming back. But because otherwise they wouldn't have made such a big deal about it later on.
Yeah. Was it the same guy later on?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it was a different guy. It doesn't matter. They're all faceless men.
Yeah. And at this point, also, he does tell Arya that she has to serve and also become no one. I know it's talked about later, and I didn't realize, but it's also said in this first scene.
Yeah, she has to Valar Dohaeris, and that she has to serve the many-faced god. But there's only one god, and everyone knows his gift. But we don't know his gift, but we're probably going to figure out later.
Oh, I do. Duh. It was already talked about in the series.
When?
The one other Bravosi man that we've seen was Arya's water dancing instructor.
Yeah.
What do we say to the god of death?
Not today?
Yeah, he's the god.
Okay.
Yeah, doesn't it make sense?
So just killing is his gift.
Well, I mean, just death. Like, isn't that the ultimate power?
Huh. Interesting.
I could be wrong. I've been wrong many a time.
But I'll accept it. It's a good theory. It's a good working theory.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you, my baby.
And then we go to my favorite scene in this entire episode. And this is not surprising if you know anything about me, because I love Marjorie.
So we're in King's Landing.
We're in King's Landing. We see a little bit of the procession to the wedding, and then Tommen and Marjorie get married. It's very quick. It's very interesting because, number one, her last wedding dress, way better. Way better. And there were no festivities shown. Like, I'm wondering if they even had a feast and a festival this time around, because they totally skipped past that and it didn't seem to be as crowded. I'm wondering if they were like, oh, we just had this royal wedding. We can't do a second one in like 6 months.
And also, I don't want Tommen to get murdered. So more.
Yeah, true that. And then they bang. Like you do. And it's really interesting because Marjorie has been married 3 times now, and this is the first time she's actually consummated the marriage.
Yeah. I loved how cute it was that they made Tommen such like a sweet virgin teenager.
Yes, he was so funny.
Because it was so teen-like, and it was so good.
He was like, did I hurt you? Because you were making noises. Also, I want to do this all day.
Yeah. That was so fast. Did I hurt you? So good.
It was so sweet. And I like that they're making Tommen really sweet. I mean, I know even in the books he's supposed to have a much like sweeter nature. But I just appreciate that they're showing this little like peek into their relationship. Like, oh, maybe it's not all just manipulation and whatever. Maybe they actually do get along. It's cute.
Yeah. I liked it. Even though it also makes Marjorie seem more evil and more like Cersei because Tommen is such like a blank canvas in which to project upon. And when you're as hot as Marjorie, you can project whatever you want on that little boy. Because he's got the hottest wife in Westeros.
Yeah. I'm hoping that she wants to be a power couple with him. Like, she doesn't seem to want to hurt him, just the people that are actually evil. So I don't know. I'm still holding out hope that Marjorie's not the worst.
Yeah, I think she just wants power.
Yeah.
But doesn't necessarily want to hurt anyone unless she has to.
Yeah. And her first power play is they talk about Cersei and whether or not she's happy in King's Landing. Did she like it better at Casterly Rock? And she kind of puts this idea in Tommen's head like, hey, maybe your mom should go to Casterly Rock where her true home is and not have to hang out here.
Well, not even just that, because that was more of the discussion with Tommen and Cersei, because Tommen's nicer. Marjorie was like, hey, Tommen, she's going to baby you forever. Do you want to be a baby forever? Do you want to be my hot adult husband? Oh,
yeah, that's true. She said that Cersei would always protect her cub. And then, like, she said it in such a manipulative way, too. She was like, oh, that's so precious. But what she really meant was, like, get your mom out of here.
I want to fuck. That's right.
So then Tommen talks to his mom and is like, don't you want to go to Casterly Rock? And Cersei is kind of mad about it and is, like, immediately seems to realize it's Marjorie. So she goes to confront Marjorie.
And Marjorie's like, mother, which is my favorite.
Okay, this is like the cutest, best scene ever. I was laughing out loud multiple times. So as Cersei walks up to her, she's telling her handmaidens, surely 4 times is enough. Are you trying to break the record? And Tommen's like, well, what's the record? I'm sure we could break it. Which is just so funny.
This was such a good scene. I have tons of quotes from it, too. I was like, this is just such a quotable scene.
Yeah, and then immediately she's like, oh, Mom. And Cersei's like, oh, great, Marjorie. And she says, I wish we had some wine for you. It's still a bit early in the day for us.
It's like, oh, snap.
Burn. Me and Colby were dying laughing. It was so funny. Like, I love it whenever somebody jokes about Cersei being an alcoholic.
Because no one ever discusses it.
Yeah.
And then also being like, what's the proper way to address you? Queen Mother or Dowager Queen? I'm like, ah, snap. Which I only know what Dowager even means because of people talking about that show with the Dowager. Downton Abbey. That's it. Yeah. And then Queen Grandmother at the rate that her lion buck son is going to make a baby.
I cannot believe she's just openly talking about her son banging her a lot to, like, Cersei. Cersei's so mad right now.
Oh, it's so good. And, like, I liked the end because I'm trying to notice more of, like, the clues around the characters. So, like, whenever Cersei's walking away from Marjorie, there's, like, really aggressive music with girl giggles in the back, and I just thought it was, like, it was really well done sound-wise. Do you have anything else about the scene you love?
No, it was my favorite, and it was so good, and all I really want forever is Marjorie, so I'm really happy she's officially queen now. Everything's great.
I know, I'm so ready. I'm just ready for this season. It's been so good so far. Anyways, now we're in Moat Cailin.
Which my brain wants to call Moog Halen. It wasn't until I saw it written that I realized it was a moat.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's because of the way people talk in this stupid show. No one can pronounce anything.
Especially anyone that's probably from Moat Cailin is like... Moat
Cailin, yeah.
So you see Theon for the first time.
Yeah, I forgot Theon was a thing. I mean, I knew he was, but I forgot that he was still hanging out, and he's still amazing.
I know. I'm just so sad because he's so attractive, and he looks so busted in this show.
We also see a flayed man and a flayed woman being hung, and I actually looked up who they were just to see if they were anyone, and it's a lord and a lady who refused to pay taxes because they didn't believe basically that the Boltons should be the wardens of the North. So they flayed them alive and made their son watch.
Yeah, and for me, this is actually the first time I've managed to see a flayed man. And I don't know how I've managed to get through this whole entire series without managing to see one. But this is the first time, and it wasn't as gross as I thought it was going to be.
It's still pretty gross, but I still don't know how you have missed it, because there have been flayed people.
I also saw, like, one other one vaguely once, but it was only, like, a passing glance. Anyways, after you see the flayed man, Roose and Ramsay, who are both the Boltons' son and daddy, talk about politics, taxes, and houses. What Mia was saying about the flayed people being people who refuse to pay their taxes. They said, quote unquote, the Warden of the North will always be a Stark. And then
they also said, we can't hold the North with terror alone.
And that the pact between Tywin Lannister could be dead.
Mm-hmm.
And that the quote, this is another quote, the best alliance is marriage, which they're setting up talking about Starks and marriage. And no shit, Sansa.
Yeah, and they do a really, really good cut to Sansa and Littlefinger, like, looking right at Moat Cailin. I'm never going to remember that that's the real name of that place.
I'll write it down every time for you.
Whoever the directors have been for these first couple episodes, I really love the way that they're doing scene cuts, because I feel like they're really, like, and this is the answer, and here's the dwarf head, and here's Sansa, which is really cool. Like, it's very obvious, which I appreciate, because sometimes Game of Thrones is a little too subtle, but it's also really clever and funny.
Yeah. This episode especially, I just really love this episode. It's the first episode I was genuinely like, fuck yes, Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Anyways, oh shit, it's Sansa! And, the first word Sansa says is, your marriage proposal. It wasn't for you. And I was like, motherfuck, yeah, that paperback and thing. I knew it was important. I knew it was important. First episode, I was like, that's something. That's a major plot point in his hand.
She also talks about, like, okay, so this is really interesting to me, because Sansa's one of my favorite characters. I love her storyline so far, and I've been really looking forward to where she's going in this season. And Littlefinger's like, oh, this is great. Like, Winterfell, you can take Winterfell. Like, this is the only way you'll get close enough to these people to avenge your family. But she's like, Winterfell's not my home anymore. I don't want to marry a Bolton. They hurt my family. Like, she's very upset about it. She doesn't have a home anymore. And then I think she takes a moment to consider, and she realizes she doesn't really have anywhere else to go.
Yeah. See, I kind of thought it... Okay. So, like, Littlefinger is obviously being very shitty. And, like,
well, yeah.
There's no way you can side with Littlefinger on this, but on the other hand, he may be right. And, like, that's the thing that makes me curious, because there's two ways this could go. It could go amazing for Sansa or terrible.
Yeah.
And, like, so it actually, Littlefinger might be right, because I can actually see the potential of Sansa having true power with a marriage with a Bolton. But then, obviously, that completely contradicts the storyline within Snow's storyline. But even then, it's actually kind of interesting. And also, I really loved the aesthetics of this scene. I loved, like, Sansa, like, looking off into Moat Cailin, and then you have Littlefinger on the horse and just the wind blowing on Sansa, and Sansa looking very much like her mother in this scene.
Yeah. I do love that, I don't know. I mean, I know that the whole reason that Littlefinger loves her is because she looks like her mom, but even in this show, they've really made her look older and a lot, like, resemble Catelyn Stark in the way she talks and everything. And I think a lot of that is intentional, and I love it so much.
Yeah. And they definitely had her in, like, even the coat was cut how most of her mother's Catelyn's coats were cut, and so it was very much like, I think you're supposed to think her of as the matriarch of the Starks at this moment, and, like, her really making a political decision as a Stark right now. And this was a very Stark heavy.
A bad history with political decisions.
I know, and this was a Stark episode. Like, almost all the storylines were Stark, which I appreciated, having a better, like, solid line throughout the show. So then Sansa decides, I guess I'll go to Moat Cailin.
She's not excited about it, but I think she realizes she doesn't have anywhere else to go, and this is probably her best opportunity to get back to some semblance of normalcy.
Yeah.
Because at the very least, if she does end up going through with this marriage or whatever, maybe the Lannisters will not attack her, or maybe she'll have, like, the backing of an army. Like, I think this is her best route to safety.
See, I like how sweet you think, because I think in such an opposite way. I think of it as this might be Sansa's chance to fuck shit up. Like, that's and you're like,
I'm
this could be
for
safety.
That,
and I'm like, this could be her turning into another Arya and murdering people. Yeah. It's just
if I had to guess, I would say that she eventually does murder them because I think that there's I think she wants vengeance for sure. But I think Sansa is using them for safety while she's plotting their murder. I want her to kill them, but I think she's also aware that this is probably the best place for her in the meantime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then it cuts directly to Brienne and Podrick. Again.
So they have managed to follow them without getting killed, which is just, that in and of itself, impressive. Bravo.
I thought you were going to be like, bravos, and then make a pun. Okay. Sorry.
Game of Thrones puns.
What podcasting has taught me is that I have very, very terrible humor. All right. So they're watching them, and then we get some elaborate backstory of Brienne and Podrick.
Basically, the coolest part about this is we figure out why Brienne was so in love with Renly. And it's actually a really sweet story. He saved her from being bullied for being, tall and not pretty and whatever. And that's why she was like, okay, you're the true king. I'll serve you forever. Also, I love you. But I know you're into men. So I'll just watch you from afar and I'll protect you. Oh, what? You died? Oh, no. I'm going to avenge you. That's basically Brienne's whole story.
Okay. So my notes on this were, oh, God, all weird girls love Brienne more now. Because weird girls already like her. But, just it's such a night. That's very specifically the weird girl storyline. And also, my side notes were, how sweet. She's an OG fag hag. And side note, I hate that term. I hate that term, but that's totally what she is, to a T. Brienne's a fag hag. And also, I put, my favorite thing about Podrick's backstory, and this is my exact notes, were ham, of course it's ham. Of course his backstory is about ham. What else would Podrick's backstory be?
I love that Podrick has a backstory. I don't remember, I know he's in the books, but I don't know if he has this much focus on him in the books. I think the whole Brienne and Pod hanging out thing is totally a diversion, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure that he's one of the characters that takes a whole bunch of different characters from the books and is supposed to go into him.
Well, I appreciate it so much because I love Pod the most. He's such a dumb goofball. And she was like, hey, Podrick, do you want to be a knight? And he's like, yeah, someday. And she's like, okay, fine. We're going to start learning how to fight. And I'm like, yes, this is only going to be better.
I love I don't know. I like the respect they're doing a lot in this season. I didn't get the exact quote because it was going by too fast and I can't type that fast. But it was sorry you have to squire for such a sour person. And he's like, you're the best fighter. I'm proud to be your squire. I'm like, buddy knights. Yeah, they're going to be friends tonight and fight stuff.
It was super sweet, too, because, I don't know. I feel like Podrick's such a good person because he's straight up, he's squired for, the most, quote, unsavory. I'm doing air quotes. You can't see. I don't know why I'm doing them. But, the most unsavory characters. So from Tyrion, who's considered, deformed, and he's an imp, and he's not, a great fighter or whatever, to Brienne, who is a great fighter, but, she's,
not
also seen as... Yeah, she's not personable, and she's seen as, kind of grotesque and tall and everything. But he just sees their strengths and how great they are.
Also, remember, the prostitutes gave him his money back. Can't forget that about Pod.
God bless Pod. Let's start a podcast about Pod. It'll be called Pod's Podcast.
The podcast. Woo! Okay, so sorry for that, guys. I also like the quote, nothing is more hateful than failing to protect the one you love, which is Brienne talking about Renly, but that is all I have left to talk about this scene. Do you have anything else in note, Kaylin?
I literally wrote, aww. So she's never admitted that she's been in love with Renly before.
Yeah.
And that's the first time that, as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, go for it. But I think this is the first time she's openly said it.
I mean, I think she's always said that she's loved him, but not loved him in that way that a teen girl loves another boy. Anyway.
Or a One Directioner.
Yeah. Actually, that would be a good way to describe Renly as a human being. It's like Harry Styles, but for boys. Into boys. Anyways, now we're... Oh, God, I know One Direction members. Okay. Anyways, now
I just know the one that left. Zayn?
Yeah, Zayn Malik.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's how you pronounce it.
You know too many. Okay.
I know all of them. Now we're at the wall.
And good. Our favorite place.
Let me see. Did I like this scene? No, I didn't. Okay.
I liked it all right. And here's the reason. they have started taking scenes with my two least favorite plots because, as we all know, Stannis and the Wall, both boring to me. But I am finding these to be interesting because stuff's actually happening.
Yeah.
So Stannis talks with new Lord Commander Snow, Jon Snow, and he's basically like, hey, have you thought about my offer to be a lord? And Jon Snow's like, I can't take it. I'm married to the Night's Watch. Stannis is not happy with this news, but I'm pretty sure he's not disrespectful about it either. He's like, okay, fine, do whatever you can with the wildlings. Like, I realize we have to leave soon, as you've not so tactfully pointed out. We're going to be gone soon, do whatever. And then Davos stays behind. What?
I have things to say.
Oh, say some things.
You're just talking, never let me talk.
I'm sorry.
All right. So, first off, you forgot to mention that Ollie gets to stay because Snow is okay, I'm going to say this in a different way. So, my first comment about this is that he's Commander Snow, and it sure does seem like there would have been a lot of Commander Snows since that's a bastard name. Second off...
I don't know why that's, like, an important comment, but okay.
Well, like, it just is... It doesn't have any kind of, like, power to me, because, like, oh, Commander Bastard, congrats.
Yeah, but I also think there wouldn't be a lot of commanders that were bastards.
I don't know. That's the entire point of the Night's Watch, is getting all the terrible ones in, and people hate the bastards.
Some of them are lords and stuff.
Yeah, but even then, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of snows and sands and flowers and the other ones there.
Stone.
And then Ollie gets to stay, which Ollie is the person who murdered his girlfriend, Ygritte, but then is now a functioning member of the Night's Watch, and he gets to stay because Snow is like, I'm a ballin' ass bitch. I want him to stay so he can learn from me, like Mormont did from me, because he's going to be the next commander or some shit. And then this is one of my favorite things that Stannis has ever done, is that whenever Jon Snow is like, I have too much honor, I'm not going to take the last name Stark, this isn't what I want to do, and Stannis is like, you're so much like your father. And then he's like, Ned's honor meant nothing. Ned's honor ended up him dead. And this is the first time in the entire series that my heart warmed to Stannis, because Stannis feels the same way about Ned Stark that I do. And I'm like, suddenly I'm into Stannis.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good line. Because he was like, oh, I'm just like Ned, thank you. And he's like, it's not a compliment.
I know, it was like the first time anyone's ever said anything bad about Ned that wasn't his enemy.
Yeah.
And that's amazing to me. And then essentially they're saying that they can't feed the fact that there are 3 different factions of soldiers there right now, both Stannis' army, the Wildlings, and the Night's Watch. So, and then Stannis also mentions that you have enemies, and that he should consider sending Alistair away. And then Davos stays to talk to Snow.
So I love that Stannis is not a lovable person. So Sir Davos has to do, is he a sir? Whatever. Davos has to do a lot of stuff that Stannis cannot do effectively. Davos basically says, hey, part of the Night's Watch codes just says that you need to watch over the realm and protect it and stuff. So
the shield that guards the realms of men. What? Okay. I got the quote. It's important.
No, thank you. I'm rolling my eyes because I never know the official words for anything unless I write it word for word down. But he's like, yeah, you can protect the realm in other ways. You don't need to be a neutral third party. He's basically hinting at him that it may still be within his rights to not necessarily just stay at the wall and watch over stuff, but actually take some kind of role.
Yeah, and I'm excited about this because, like I've mentioned before in this podcast, that I thought Davos has always gotten, like, written off, even though he's a super important character in the books. And so I'm really excited to show that they're making Davos important again. Now, the one thing is that he is always like, Stannis is the one true king. It doesn't bend on that, but whatever. Anyways, Snow is like, I've sworn to stay clear of the politics of the Seven King. And as Mia said, Davos is like, hey, in your thing, it says that you have to guard the realm of men. And his exact quote was, as long as the Boltons rule the North will suffer. So Snow's like, ooh, maybe I can help my brethren. And that,
yeah, and this is so interesting too because it's always been difficult for Jon Snow to remain faithful to the Night's Watch and kind of take a back seat for all this crazy drama happening in Westeros, because he's like, my family's involved, everybody's dying, the North is suffering, like, I picked a really bad time to go to the Wall.
Yeah.
So this is a way that maybe he can be involved while still remaining true to his duties.
Yeah, and also maybe do something with all the soldiers that are just chilling in his place that he can't feed. So then now we get back to Bravos, and there's an unknown girl in Arya playing.
Is it a spoiler? I read the Game of Thrones wiki, and they gave her a title, but it's not really. It's not a name. Can I tell you what it is?
I still think she's supposed to be unknown.
Okay. Anyway, she's like, "Who are you?" And Arya goes, "I'm nobody," which is not true. And so the random girl just starts like beating her up. And Arya reaches for Needle, and then Jake and Hagar shows up, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And Mystery Girl is like, "We were just playing the game of faces. Like, it's some casual thing, and we're just beating each other up a little bit."
You're forgetting the best part of this.
What?
Where Arya yells out cunt and calls her a cunt. Like, even Maisie, like, joked about that on Twitter earlier today, where she's like, the progression of Arya's character, and just like, cunt.
I don't know why I didn't write that down. It was a good moment.
And so then Jaqen comes in and is like, "Hey, what you guys doing?" And then shit talks Arya for being no one, essentially, and having so much of Arya's possession. And then says, "A man wonders how it is that no one came to be surrounded by Arya Stark's things."
What's hilarious about this is, like, they've kind of been telling her this the whole time, but she literally doesn't pick up on it until they are as obvious as possible.
Yeah, I think she has, like, they're kind of showing that she's still somewhat of a girl with a title.
Yeah.
That she doesn't understand how much the title of Stark affects who she is and how she identifies with the world.
Yeah, it's just interesting, though, because, like, they've been hinting at this. Literally everybody else in the House of Black and White is wearing, like, the same clothing. You don't know who anybody is. Like, the way that they talk. It would all seem to be a hint, but she does not get the hint until he tells her straight up, like, "You still look like Arya to me. I don't know. Maybe you're still Arya."
And so Arya's like, "Oh." And then we see her throwing her shit in the sea.
Except Needle.
I know. I was watching that scene, and I knew that obviously Needle was going to be an important part, and I was like, I am equally as emotionally attached to Needle, and I was like, oh, thank God. But that means I wonder when Needle will come back into play, because Game of Thrones almost always does the Chekhov's rule, where, like, nothing happens without it meaning something. Mm-hmm. So Needle being there means Needle definitely is part of a future plot, and I wonder when now. Now it's more curious.
Yeah, my actual concern is that they're going to figure out that she kept Needle and not let her become a faceless assassin.
Well, they found the coin that she threw in the ocean, which is kind of what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, and she just threw all of her clothes in the ocean, and I'm like, don't you know that they basically are the ocean? Like, I don't know the situation, but that doesn't seem like the place to get rid of your clothes.
Definitely hasn't stopped them before.
Yeah, right. So then, like, if anything, maybe they'll find all of her clothes and the coin and stuff, but they won't find Needle.
Maybe, that would be nice.
That'd be funny.
I love Needle. Then
yeah, I was really sad about that, and also, like, it's basically her saying goodbye to her whole family. That's her last sign of her family that she has, and of Jon especially.
Yeah,
I don't know. I was all sad about it.
I just, so curious how the season's. If that doesn't get resolved this season, I'll be mad as hell.
It could be like a three season long plot. Like, you never know with Game of Thrones.
Like Jaqen and Hagar.
God. Or the Lannister cousin who we don't know anything about, apparently.
I was going to say Loras, but that's the Tyro.
Lancel.
Yeah, close enough.
I like that next in your notes you just have Arya sweeps.
Because it annoyed me. Because she's so bad at it.
So, I guess her throwing everything into the ocean had some kind of effect on everyone, because the random girl lets her go to where she hadn't been allowed to go before. And
Jaqen lets her go.
It was Jaqen, but the unknown girl's in there.
Yes.
And they clean a dead body.
Cool.
Presumably dead. It looks dead.
Yeah.
She's not okay with it. And she's like, what happens after we clean the body? Nobody answers.
Yeah, it's like, okay. Well, that's a scene that happened. I'm sure there's this later.
We're supposed to be as confused as she is, I think.
Yeah, I think they're trying to specifically make it that way, which is why I think knowing the title of the unknown girl might be a spoiler. They might have mentioned it, but I still think that she's supposed to be, like, mysterious.
Yeah, well, I mean, the title's not even descriptive. I'll tell you off the podcast and you can tell me.
Okay. And then now we're in Mount Caelan for like 30 seconds. And it's Sansa arriving.
Yeah, basically Sansa shows up and there's this really cool moment of tension whenever she first meets the Boltons where you're like, what's she gonna do? But then she just says, nice to meet you, like, does her courtesies, and you're like, yeah, Sansa with the words as armor Sansa is back.
I know. That was basically my notes. I'm like, Sansa being cordial to Roose like a boss.
It's all she's got, man. Like, you can tell in her brain, though, she's thinking, like, do I really want to go through with this? Like, she's so uncomfortable.
And then the, like, thing pans to all of Ramsay's girlfriends being like, oh, hell no, F this.
I forgot he had girlfriends. So, apparently there's a specific one, and I forgot what her name is, but she's the one that shot the other girlfriend in the leg last season.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she looked real mad.
Yeah, that's why I was like, oh, that's
watch
important.
out about that.
But, like, I feel like because you're face blind, so I feel like that would have done nothing for you, because I'm not, and I have really good vision of faces, so I knew it was her. But, like, I can imagine you knowing that those were Ramsay's ex-girlfriends, and lots of people don't notice the people in Game of Thrones. So I felt like that, I know what they were trying to do, but I don't think they realized that no one knows who they are.
Yeah, like, okay, the reason I found out is because I was reading through the wiki that apparently I'm not allowed to read through anymore. And it said that they panned to her and she was upset. And I'm like, who's this? And I looked. And for one, they're called his bed warmers, which is just gross. Like, use a hot water bottle like the rest of us. Come on, Ramsay.
It just sounds like he beat himself.
And so she's like, I guess, the main one, and she's been in a couple of episodes. Like, she was also there whenever Theon got his wang cut off. She was one of the girls. Of course, yeah. So I didn't know that she'd been around for a while. I didn't recognize her at all until I started reading all the stuff that she'd done. So just for context, listeners, if were wondering why that girl's important, I feel like she might kind of mess with Sansa.
Yeah, definitely. And then it shows a woman leading Sansa to her bedroom. And then she goes, welcome home, Lady Stark. The North remembers. And I was like, fuck yeah!
Yeah, I got so fired up. I was like, Sansa has support. So I'm really excited to see what happens. Because what's she going to do? Start a freaking uprising? I'm so excited.
I know. I was like, ugh. It was good Stark episode. Just a good Stark episode.
Which I know you're like, good Stark episode? That's an oxymoron. But here we are.
Well, not after the Wed Wedding. He got rid of all the boring ones at the Wed Wedding.
Yeah, the remaining Starks I do enjoy. Except Bran, I'm kind of like, eh. And then Riekon's like, oh, what are you doing? Are you still here?
Who knows? So now we're at the Wall again, and it's the first exciting scene in this place ever in Game of Thrones. Well, okay, it's in like the meeting hall where they eat. That's the first exciting scene there, not in like the Wall at all.
I was like, that's not very nice.
But, like, they've never had exciting meetings until now.
That's true. Now shit's actually going down. So, Jon Snow, as his first move as Lord Commander, he's like, there's too many wildlings here. We need to make a new latrine pit.
And so, everyone's looking around because, like, oh, he's going to make it his enemy, Alistair. But no, he makes it a ginger. Which, okay, why do we still accept that that's a thing to be mean towards gingers? I don't get it. But nonetheless, it was cute.
Well, my favorite thing is that, like, I didn't realize that ginger discrimination existed in the Game of Thrones universe, but I guess it does.
Especially from a Stark, because Starks are like, Catelyn is a ginger.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's good luck for... Oh, I think I just realized. Okay. If you're a wildling, it's considered good luck to be kissed by fire, aka be a ginger. So maybe he was like, a ginger needs to do it because it's for the wildling's poop.
Huh. I'll accept that.
Yeah, okay. That's really stretching, but that could be it.
So then it goes to him talking to Sir Alistair, and he's like, you have more experience, you've proved your valor, and you're going to be the first ranger. And I was like, oh yeah, that respect thing that they're doing so well this season. I was just like, so good. Because of Alistair's face was like, oh, he does respect me in my place. Like, it was just good. It was
a good moment. Yeah, because, I mean, I feel like I almost expected him to go a little power hungry and do something mean to the people that have been mean to him. Yeah. But instead, he was like, look, you've done so much work, and I'm not here to be petty. Like, you get to have the role that you were have been working for. Yeah. Like, this is the best fit for you.
There's no reason I shouldn't let you have this position because you're more fit than anyone else here. I was like, oh yeah, Jon Snow, you're finally being Jon Snow.
Didn't Stannis suggest to send Sir Alistair to some other place?
Yeah, a place that was off. I don't think it was the place that he suggested to send Lord Janis, which we'll mention in a minute. Because it definitely sounded different.
Yeah, it was a different place. I just don't remember the names of either because what is the known world? We don't know.
Yeah, I know the one for Lord Janice is go to the Commander Greyguard. That's what it said in the thing. I don't know what that means. And Lord
it was
Janice
a Greyguard castle or something. It's a castle. But I guess there's a couple different places that Night's Watch people can go that they all suck. So given what Stannis did in the earlier scene, we were kind of expecting him to give Sir Alistair something kind of crappy.
Yeah, but instead, Snow was like, to Janice. And Janice was a rude-ass bitch about it.
Oh my God, he was terrible. He literally was like, I'm not doing this. I've been doing important stuff for the realm since you were in your swaddling clothes. Like, he was so insulting, and he refused his command 3 times. My
favorite thing was that Jon Snow was like, you mistake me, my lord. That was a command, not an offer. And I was like, ooh, this is the first time I'm starting to find Jon so sexy. I'm like,
I know. It turns out all he needed was to be a leader for him to be, like, infinitely more attractive because he's handling this. Leadership looks good on Jon Snow.
Yes. Like, all of my notes are like, oh shit, fuck yeah. Like, that's all my notes for the rest of it.
Okay, so this was a really cool scene. Let's break it down.
Hold on. And then, basically, they go through this, like, this is a command, not an offer. Give it to one of the fools who cast a stone for you. And lastly, Lord Janice was like, you can stick your offer up your bastard ass.
Which is just a little too far. I mean, honestly.
And that's when Jon Snow was like, fuck it, corral him.
The cool part about this is he gives everyone commands. And if you have watched Game of Thrones, if you know anything about season 1, so this is some callback shit. But he's like, get me my sword. And you see them put down like a stump of wood, which is how Ned Stark always exacted justice. He says the person dealing justice should be the one swinging the sword or something like that. So basically the person who deals the sentence is the one that...
First episode, too.
Yes, first episode. Yeah, so I was like, shit, he's going to get his head chopped off Ned Stark style. I was so pumped. And then, like, they kind of go back and forth. He's like, oh, what are your last words? And Jaina Slint is like, oh, I'm so sorry. I said the wrong thing. I messed up. Like, totally backpedaling. He's like, everything I've ever done to you has been wrong. And Jon Snow's like, well, those are weird last words, and just chops his head right off.
So I'm just going to straight up read my notes. So it's, oh shit, fuck yeah, Snow, hell yeah. It shows Stannis prowling, watching Jon take control. And then I wrote, this is sexy as fuck. And Lord Janice's last words were, I was wrong, I was wrong, some other stuff. I'm sorry, some other stuff. My lord, please mercy, I'll go. I'm afraid. I've always been afraid. And then he beheaded him like a bitch. And then Stannis and Jon, like, I fuck each other with power. And it was awesome.
No, it was really good because Stannis totally approved of how he handled that situation.
Yeah, it was just, like, I have never been so exhilarated when Jon Snow and Stannis and Lord Janice were on the same screen. What? Like, these are feelings I never expected to have at the same time with all of these people's faces in front of me.
You know, the Wall has been a lot more exciting this season.
They've done a really good job.
Between Mance Rayder and even though I thought the election was kind of boring because I knew it was coming, like, that was a great scene. And then this was a great scene. So I'm really surprised because these Wall scenes are kicking ass.
I know. Apparently you just needed to put 2 boring characters together because their powers together combined to be just weirdly, really interesting. I'm just really digging it so much.
Yeah, I'm loving how Stannis is like, okay, he's very respectful of Jon, which I kind of don't expect because he's so unlikable and he doesn't know how to handle people. So for him to, like, respect one of Jon's, like, major decisions and how he exacts that revenge, totally like King of the North style. It was so good. It was a very good Game of Thrones moment.
2 great deaths at the Wall. We would have never said that could happen before this. 2 amazing, beautiful ones. I'm just so surprised.
Yeah. Season 5 at the Wall is kicking some butt. I mean, honestly, I'm starting to look forward to the scenes now. What does that mean?
I know. It's weird. I'm like, oh, Stannis is what?
Maybe this is why people like Stannis. I don't know. Maybe this is why, I don't know. Maybe it's happening.
Maybe they saw it before we did, like we did with Sansa before other people.
Yeah, but that was just sexism.
All right, so now we're at King's Landing in a brothel.
Can we talk about how hilarious this scene was? So it's the High Septon.
And we got boy butt, sorry.
Yeah, we got way more full frontal, like, female nudity, but okay, there's some boy butts.
I'm just joking because it was the grossest boy butt amongst, like, beautiful woman vagina.
Yeah, as per usual, right? So he's the High Septon's in the middle, and the guy who's like the manager of the brothel, I guess, is like playing God. And he's like, oh, you've been such a good High Septon. Which of the 7 would you like to have tonight? And all of the prostitutes are dressed up like one of the 7 gods.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because he picks 2 of them, and the guy that's like managing the brothel is like, you do know it's extra for 2. And he's like, shut up.
Yeah.
You're interrupting my jam. It was so funny. God, it was hilarious. And just the irony of a guy that is like so into religion that even his like pornographic exploits are all religious based. It was just so funny to me.
Oh yeah, and then the Sparrows are like, gonna fuck your shit up. Get out, get out, get out. Man, I am very cursy today. I should have not had coffee right before this. Woo.
Yeah, you're really excited. No, this was so funny. So they basically go in and they're like, you are being a hypocrite and a sinner, and they take his naked butt on the streets and everybody hisses, sinner.
Sinner. And every time he tries to cover his wee-wee, they hit him again, so he can't cover his wee-wee.
And thank God they didn't show it, because he's old, and like we didn't even want to see his butt.
I was like, if this is the like first penis they show this season, I'm gonna be so mad.
I know, I was thinking that, because they got really close a couple times, and I was like, no.
Do not want.
You guys get beautiful, like, prostitute boobies, and we get gross High Septon ween? Like, no.
And so then the High Septon goes to the King's Council or whatever.
Yeah, the small council.
Yeah, the small council, thank you. And is like, they all should be punished and the High Sparrow should be executed.
And what's hilarious about this is, like, nobody cares as much as the High Septon does. They're all like, well, that was pretty hypocritical of you.
And Qyburn's like, weren't you found in, like, a brothel?
So they don't really care, but I think Cersei realizes that it's some kind of important thing. Like, I don't actually know her full motivation for visiting.
I definitely think she has a bad motivation, and I'm very, very ready for whatever is going to happen. Because basically next Cersei goes to meet the High Sparrow, and Mirren Trant, who we've seen a million times before, he's part of Arya's death list, he's just a Lannister crony, is like, this is a bad idea. And Cersei says, nonsense, these are deeply religious people, which I really appreciated because Cersei knew that even though that they all thought she was probably evil and a bad person, that because they're deeply religious that she was in absolutely no harm in their hands.
So she gets there and she shows up and the High Sparrow is like giving soup to the needy and not wearing any shoes and basically being like the best, most charitable person. Yeah. He's like a totally unassuming like old dude.
Yeah. So the High Sparrow is a Jesus figure, which I think is supposed to be obvious. I'm not sure, but he's definitely supposed to be, I think he's supposed to be Jesus is really what I think. Or something very similar. So Cersei is so nice to him, which makes me assume she's going to kill him and be like, you know, Pontius Pilate or something like that, like kill him and make a thing of him in the future, like Jesus, or she's going to manipulate the fuck out of him.
She clearly thinks that she's in power here. Like, she's not threatened by him at all.
And so, and one of the quotes that I think might become a bigger thing is that the High Sparrow says, oh my goodness, brain, hypocrisy is a boil, and lancing a boil is never pleasant. So I think that might have something to do with the storyline between the High Sparrow and Cersei, which I think I'm so interested in seeing what's going to happen because he is a Jesus figure. And I definitely know that she's going to take him and put... It seems like she's going to take him and put him in the place of the High Septon, which, because she mentions, my thoughts on the High Septon's behavior are similar to your own. And she imprisoned the High Septon, and she's showing respect to the faith, which is very confusing, and I'm very interested. This seems beautiful.
Yeah, okay, so then next we go to Qyburn's lab. So Qyburn is the weird wizardy dude that we've been seeing a lot of this season. He's on the small council. What? I said wizardy. Wizardy.
It's just cute.
Okay, whatever. He's creepy. He took a dwarf's head last episode. I mean, things are just weird with Qyburn, and they're really focusing on him. So Cersei comes to him, asks him to deliver a message to Littlefinger, and she basically says, like, in the Eyrie or wherever he's at now. So Cersei doesn't even know where he is, nor does Littlefinger even register as a threat to her, which is just really funny to me because she should be taking him seriously.
Oh, yeah.
But probably whatever the note is, we don't know, but it's probably about the brothel that the High Septon was found in because it's owned by Littlefinger.
Yeah.
We also see there's this really like drawn out moment where he's writing the letter and nothing's really happening. And you're like, why are we still in Qyburn's lab? Well, the little lump where the mountain presumably is sitting under a blanket starts moving and making noise. And he's like, shh. And you're just like, oh God, what's going to happen?
Ah, snap.
Yeah, so there's some really big foreshadowing there. We don't know what's going on.
Qyburn is essentially Frankenstein.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. And I'm just like, what is he doing with that dwarf head?
I know. I was like, but Frankenstein's not this creepy. But then again, actually, it kind of is the same. Sorry, Frankenstein's still my favorite book of all time. So I'm like, ooh, maybe. I think that's maybe why I kind of don't hate Qyburn, is because he's Frankenstein.
Well, I appreciate that there's actual real magic present, because a lot of times you forget that this is a fantasy series because there's not that much fantasy.
Other than dragons occasionally once every 3 seasons.
Yeah, when they have the CGI budget for it, yeah.
So then now we're back in Moat Cailin.
Sansa kind of walks around. She does pass Theon, and it's very similar to that moment a few episodes ago when you're like, oh God, are they going to see each other with Brienne and Pod and Sansa and Littlefinger? Yeah. So they don't actually, but
I'm pretty sure Theon recognizes her, even though he's supposed to be brainwashed and not like have any of that former thing. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's going to also be important to like whatever Sansa's uprising or downfall, whichever one's going to happen. Theon recognizing her and probably wanting to help her.
Yeah, I think that'll be a really big problem for him though, because I think there was even some parts last season where he did remember his previous life. So I think you're right in that it's not totally gone from him, but I think he really struggles internally with what he's supposed to be doing right now.
Yeah, he's a good actor. I think.
So good.
It's like, I'm always impressed because I'm always like, you're fucked up, dude.
Yeah, but it's actually just acting. Yeah. Yeah, because I was so bored with him the first couple of seasons, but when I was rewatching, I was like, oh, he's supposed to kind of be a hateable piece of shit character.
Yeah.
Like, especially after I read that whole part in the books, like he shows up to everything with the most wrong assumptions about how it's going to go down.
I know he's like skater boy, teenage boy. Like he's such like a burnout teenage boy. Like in the earlier books, he's like has all these like ridiculous ideas.
I mean, God bless him, but he's just not smart. Because he's like, okay, like he shows up to the Iron Islands after not being there and being a warden of the North for years and years and years. And he shows up and just expects everybody to like basically like worship him. And they're all like, no, here we work for stuff. That's why we like your sister. And he gets so upset about it. Like he expected coming home, everyone would be like, oh my God, Theon Greyjoy's back. Yeah. And like nobody was excited about it. So I feel really bad for him because he's just a victim of being optimistic in certain ways, and it totally led to him becoming Reek, which is just terrible.
I thought he was a victim of arrogance, but
I don't even think it was arrogance though, because I think I'm probably tainted by his chapters in the books, but he literally is just like, yeah, this is what's going to happen, and it'll all be good, and it's not what happens at all.
Too much of a Stark in him.
Yeah, really.
So then it starts with Littlefinger talking to Ramsay, and you know, they're basically talking about how Littlefinger has never heard of Ramsay, which could be good or bad. And Ramsay promises, I'll never hurt her, I promise. Which I think Littlefinger feels a little worried about, that he would even think that that was the thing he had to promise.
I know. I was like, dude, play it cool.
Don't let him know you're a psycho.
Oh, man. Well, I guess, I mean, having flayed people literally hung in the castle probably wasn't the best thing to arrive to.
Yeah, but even then, like, that's their sigil. So I think that Littlefinger...
Okay, but were you not listening to Ramsay Bolton or Roose Bolton being like, that's our sigil, it doesn't mean we actually do it?
No, I was not.
This was a couple episodes or a couple seasons ago, but like it was the first time he flayed somebody, which I guess he totally missed out on.
Yeah, every time I've seen that episode like 3 times, and I still have not seen the flayed body in that one. I don't know how I miss it every time.
It's really brief, so to be fair, and it's probably not even an interesting part. But seriously, Daddy Bolton is like, we don't actually flay people. That's not what we're about. But he seems to have changed his tune because I don't know. There's flayed people right there.
Just chilling, chilling out, maxing and relaxing, all cool.
No.
And then Roose comes up and is like, "Bye, Ramsay, go away. We're gonna have adult conversations." And so basically they have the conversation that Littlefinger's like, you know, Sansa's still pure just because she was married to Tyrion. Tyrion did not deflower her. And Roose is like, I don't give she's a Stark. Like, that's all he cares about is her name.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Although, like, I love the arbitrary rules about marriage in this the known world, whatever, because like, we've seen it twice in this episode. Apparently, if you don't conjugate the marriage, like, it's not even a real marriage at all.
Yeah. And then...
Like, because I was wondering about that, too. I was like, does she have to divorce Tyrion? Like, how's that going to happen? But apparently, it's just no longer considered valid.
Which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, I guess that's a good deal for her, and it definitely solves those plot holes, but... And it worked out really well for Marjorie, hey.
She's got 3 dead husbands. What? 2. Yeah. And then, basically, Littlefinger and Roose have a conversation about consequences and breaking the promises to the Lannisters, and Roose wants to make sure Littlefinger knows what he's doing, but I don't think he actually wants to make sure of that. He wants to make sure that Roose, is not going to be in any trouble for doing this. He doesn't really care about Littlefinger, it seems. Mm-hmm. And so Roose delivers Cersei's message that Cersei sent from Qyburn earlier to Littlefinger, and the seal is broken, and Roose doesn't trust Littlefinger just because Littlefinger says something. He's like, Littlefinger, you're a known liar. I'm not going to trust that.
Probably the best decision anyone has ever made in this show.
Yeah, I know. I was like, Roose isn't that dumb. And then Littlefinger's like, oh, I'm just gambling. You're gambling, Roose. We're all gambling. Together, the Vale and the North have brought down the greatest dynasty in the history. Like back when they took down the place. God, my brain is so broken. They took down the Targaryen dynasty in the previous.
Yes.
And so now they're like, hey, if we make, I own the Vale and you own the North, if we make this, it's shown to be historically accurate and great, and the Lannisters are crumbling, they're weak, they're worthless, no one in there can do shit. They're all messed up. Tywin's dead, and Tywin was the only one worth any respect in that family anyways.
Pretty much. So stuff's happening. And also, I am reminded that, so Stannis plans to march on the north within the fortnight, so that's within 2 weeks. So I'm wondering if they are going to leave Moat Cailin by then, and, like, if they're going to launch their plan of attack, whatever it ends up being by then. Like, I'm very curious to see if they intersect or not and what happens.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Sansa's and Jon's storyline are going to cross this season, just the way they're
Don't say that.
Up.
My heart is already pounding just thinking about it.
Because they're okay, from the Game of Thrones game, in the Telltale Game of Thrones game, they make you, as this one family, make 2 different promises that you could be lying from the same member. So you're as this one family, and you tell someone you're going to promise them your tree, and you tell someone else they're going to promise your trees, and you haven't communicated between the 2 families that they both promised someone else that. And I think that's kind of what they're setting up here with, like, the Starks both being promised certain land and being promised certain things, that the 2 Stark families are making promises against each other, even though they don't know it, is what I kind of feel is happening here.
Yeah, luckily Jon Snow has no power in the north, so Sansa's gonna win. But oh man, do you remember that one time that Jon Snow was in the same place as Bran and they couldn't say hi?
Yeah, but I don't necessarily know, because I personally think Stannis is way more powerful than Roose, though. So Jon could still win based off the fact that his allegiance is a much more strong allegiance than what Sansa has.
Yeah. I'm saying that I don't even think Jon Snow's going to go for it because he's so focused on what's happening at the Wall. Like, do I think he wants to exact revenge? Yeah, but I don't think he's going to make any sort of political deals with land or titles or anything like that. So we'll see.
It's going to happen. I'm hedging my bets now. Watch me be
God,
wrong.
I'm so stoked if that happens, though, but I'm also so nervous because they've both changed so much. Like, it'd be like if Sansa and Arya ever got to meet each other again, their relationship would be totally different.
Oh, yeah, especially now that Arya's going with whatever bullshit she's going through.
Some kind of religious awakening, I guess.
I guess.
Who really knows?
I don't necessarily like that she is being trained religiously, but whatever. Anyways.
Yeah, it kind of disappoints me, but I'm looking forward to seeing the outcome, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see if it runs her for me or not. So, after all of that, we are back in Volantis.
So this is the last scene.
So it starts off in the wheelhouse, and Tyrion's like, I need to get the fuck out, and Varys is like, shut the fuck up.
You weren't kidding about swearing. Basically, Tyrion's like, I can't be in a box this entire season.
He's like, I will be no use to Daenerys if I have lost my mind.
Yeah, so he's like, I'll just be another drunk dwarf. So they wander around Volantis, and my favorite part about this is, did you know there can be multiple red priestesses?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I guess I forgot that, because I was like, that's not Melisandre.
Well, because also the guy who brought Beric Dondarrion is a red priest.
Yeah, I guess that's true. It just totally slipped my mind because it seemed to me like the way they present it in the show, it almost feels like Melisandre is the only person that believes in the Lord of the Light, which I know is not true.
Yeah, they just have done terribly of mentioning the other people that have.
And also, my most interesting part I wrote a note about is this red priestess is preaching about how Daenerys is the savior. And I thought that was fascinating because a lot of times it seems like the people that follow the same religion have the same political views too because it lines up with their religion. But in this case, we can see, Melisandre is obviously like Team Stannis.
Yeah, and this one's... And also makes more sense that the fire god would have the Dragon Queen as the savior.
Right? Doesn't it though?
But one thing I thought was interesting is that they had the cheek tattoos, the mark of the type of slave. I didn't like that, but I thought it was just an interesting thing to note that was a thing that happened in Volantis, and I think that's important to Tyrion's development that we see later on. And I like the new Red Priest, I have to say that. I really like her look. I just think she's really cool. Gorgeous in such a unique way that I just want to see her more and more and more.
She was really compelling in the one short scene that she had.
Yeah.
And she seemed to look right through Tyrion, a.k.a. the camera. So I was just like, ooh, you know all my secrets. Like, it was great.
Yeah. And also, there's another mention of Grayscale being called Stonemen in Bravos or in Volantis. So maybe Grayscale is going to come back later this season if they've already mentioned it twice, whenever they've completely ignored it in the previous seasons.
Yeah, I didn't even know it was a thing, and now it's been mentioned twice. I noticed that too. And they're acting like it's a really, really big problem. So it might be that it's a bigger problem in certain places and we haven't really been there yet.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, and that it may be like an actual plague type thing instead of that. So then they go to a brothel.
Like you do.
And I'm pretty sure the first thing they show is just a man shoving his drink on the table, and immediately I was like, that's Jorah, because I know that cuff from anywhere, because I've cosplayed Jorah, and I was like, I've seen this outfit backwards and forwards, and I was like, my baby is back.
Straight up, I only recognize, because the way that they do the cinematography, it's supposed to be kind of mysterious. I don't think you're supposed to notice, but because you've cosplayed him and I've helped you put on all this stupid little like stuff that he wears, I knew that outfit immediately, and I was just like, oh, there's Jorah. Like, oh man.
Also,
and of course he goes to the one brothel that has a prostitute dressed up like Daenerys. Like, how sad is he?
Yeah. I was like, my note for that is the Dany prostitute outfit isn't interesting from a cosplayer perspective.
Oh my God, I said that too. I looked right at Colby and I was like, that would be amazing for Nerdy Burlesque, because it's basically her Astapor dress, which is the blue one that has kind of like a tulip skirt, but without the pants.
Yeah, it was so funny, but so great at the same time.
Yeah, I thought it was a hilarious like little in-joke, and to me it was almost like duh, that's all you have to do to make it sexy is take the pants off. It was, and it looked really well made too, and I was just like, how's your hair blonde? Is that a wig? What's happening? I was just like, cosplay in Game of Thrones. This is meta.
All right. And then I also liked, basically Tyrion's like, bye Varys, I need to speak to someone with hair.
That was so funny.
I thought that was such a good line.
They have the best, like, little quips.
And then, also, so Tyrion goes to find the prostitute that he likes, and he's like, until recently, I was one of the richest men in the world. I always pay my debts. I'm well known for it. And I'm like, bitch, Jorah is literally right behind you. Could you say more identifying words despite what Varys has been saying this entire time?
Right? Like, I was just
pay
like,
my debts. Really?
Those are literally, they're not your house words, but they're very, very well known for being associated with your house. And there's a dwarf in that house. Like, why would you freaking say that?
I know. I was like, you are, like, so arrogant sometimes. But I did like the line where she was like, everyone wants to fuck the queen. And he's like, that's because they've never met a queen.
Yeah, but then I was like, stop it. Like, they're gonna figure you out. Even if Jorah wasn't in the scene, someone would have figured it out.
Oh, yeah. And also, then, so she's like, I guess I'll sleep with you even though you don't have any money because you're so kind to me and you like me because I'm smart and skeptical and not because of that. And then Tyrion's like, I can't. And I think I think the development is that he respects women and slaves now after seeing the tattooed people, like, because he's never really been down with slaves before.
No, she's pregnant.
Is she pregnant?
She's pregnant.
Where? How? Where?
The way that they framed that shot, it's totally like her pregnant belly sticking out and he's looking at it.
I totally did not see her pregnant belly.
Yeah, so I think he's just like, normally I'd be cool with this, but I can't because you're pregnant and something's changed in me.
See, I just thought it was that he, like, respected the lower class now.
Oh, see, yours is a lot nicer.
Well, yours would make more sense to the book Tyrion. Mine makes more sense to the show Tyrion. So it depends. It could be both. Yeah. We'll go with both. And then it shows Tyrion pissing off an Edge because he's like, I have to pee instead of fuck this woman. And then...
You know what? I just looked at the wiki page and it doesn't mention that she's pregnant at all. Now I feel like a jerk.
Yeah, I don't think she is. I think because that would make more sense that he's respecting women and slaves now, because that's why I think they showed, like, the slaves being tattooed and Tyrion being changed as a person, that he's never had to, like, be down with, like, the actual lower class before.
Yeah, I now feel like a
also
jerk.
Could have been the only person who noticed that, because that's also a possibility that person who wrote the Wikipedia just didn't notice that and you did. That's totally possible.
I just can't believe that I've watched the episode twice and I don't know that for sure.
It's okay. Nothing is for sure in Game of Thrones. So Tyrion is peeing off an Edge, and my baby, my boo, Jorah Mormont, captures a motherfucker. And I was like, yes, and he's taking that motherfucker to the queen. I love Jorah so much. I don't know why. I can't understand it with anything. Like, I just cosplayed him because you were cosplaying Daenerys, and I was like, oh, I want to do, like, a couple's cosplay. So I'll do Jorah because I like him better than, like, her handmaidens. So then I genuinely think it's his voice.
Ew.
Which is really creepy. But for some reason, because Jorah is such a character that I generally wouldn't like, because he's a traditional white male character, but for some reason I'm so enamored with him, and not even like, not in a sexual way, just in a like, I'm glad he's back and I can root for him. I don't know, I'm so excited that Jorah's here. I'm ready. I could care less if Tyrion died because of Jorah. Like, that's the level of I love Jorah.
Whoa, I number one cannot agree with that.
I know no one would agree with me on that.
Also, we in my household, I guess, had a dispute about which queen he was taking her to, and I did notice that it is ambiguous, but it would make no sense for... So, here's the thing. We just saw him crying into his beer because there was a prostitute dressed like his former love. I'm pretty sure he's bringing Tyrion to Daenerys, which isn't really that big of a problem, except for Tyrion's going to have to be like, I swear I wasn't here to murder you, you know?
Well, why the hell would Jorah take it to Cersei? There's no reason.
My boyfriend thought it would be Cersei, and the reason was so that he could no longer be exiled from Westeros.
Yeah, but he doesn't care about them anymore.
But he does have, he would have been the lord of the House Mormont or whatever. He'd have land. Like, if he can't be with his Khaleesi, then wouldn't that be the second best thing? But I think he's wrong. I think he means Dany.
I mean, the only way he wouldn't mean Dany is if they were purposely trying to trick us, like the show.
But I feel like the show's done that before.
He's definitely implied Daenerys. I think that Jorah is taking him to the Khaleesi. Or the queen, I guess, that queen. Because it wouldn't make sense
I think
any
so,
other
too.
way.
Yeah, and there's no way. I think he wants to... Well, because all that they mentioned... So in the last time on Game of Thrones, they mentioned that he was banished from Daenerys' like, party or whatever. So I think that's also a hint that he wants to go back.
Yeah, the only way I would think it'd be different is that he does say the queen instead of Khaleesi, and I do think that she was going by Khaleesi the last time they were hanging out.
Yeah, but everyone else around him has been calling her the queen.
Yeah. So
this whole episode.
It wouldn't at all make sense that he would travel if he was still in Braavos and didn't travel all the way over there to try it. Why would... But then again, the queen wants... Oh, now I see where your boyfriend's coming from.
Yeah, because the queen wants his head. Yeah.
Oh, that makes a lot more sense. Okay, cool. I now respect Colby a little bit more than I did 5 seconds ago.
No, he's not an idiot. Come on.
But he doesn't watch the show. I don't think he's an idiot. He just doesn't watch the show.
But here's the other thing. If I don't think you'd refer to Cersei as the queen anymore.
Yeah, but
so if he knows about
she's not the queen anymore because they just got married.
Yeah, but if you know that Tyrion is wanted, wouldn't you also know that she's not the queen anymore?
Game of Thrones, you're too dang confusing.
And it doesn't even need to be confusing.
Anyways, moral of this story is that I love Jorah.
So that concludes this episode. Liz, what's your overall episode rating?
I'd give it like an 8 or a 9. I'm only going that low because I'd give it a 10 if I did. I'm still like, I think there's going to be better episodes this season, so I don't want to go that high when I think that there's going to be something that deserves a 10.
Yeah.
So I loved this episode. I liked that it was focused, even if it was focused on Starks and it was still as many stories. It was still, there was a clear line of that you were supposed to be paying attention to the Starks for the most part. And I tend to like post-Red Wedding Stark episodes, so that was fun. What is your rating?
Mine's about the same. I'm going to say it's like a 7 out of 10. I liked the focus. To me, it felt like there were fewer short scenes and more longer scenes, so it felt more cohesive. And all of the stuff that happened was awesome, and I just found myself being incredibly pleased with the episode several times throughout. So
yeah. I was immediately like, Mom, you have to watch, because I watched the second time with my mom. And I was like, Mom, we have to watch it right now instead of tomorrow because I want to see it again. So, Mia, who do you think is the MVP of this episode?
So I wanted to go with Marjorie because I really loved her scene with Cersei, but then I thought about it and she's only in one scene. And I think the true winner of this episode is going to be Sansa because she had to make a really tough decision. And I can only imagine the difficult situation she was placed in. And I think she's going to handle it really well. And I'm looking forward to her in the next rest of the season. What about you, Liz?
So I want to say Jon Snow. I want to. But my love for Jorah outweighs that. So Jorah.
Jorah was barely in this episode.
I know, but it was a very good show up. If they had not had spoiled that ahead of time and you didn't know Jorah's costume, don't tell me that wouldn't have been a good arrival.
Okay. Yeah. That would have been sweet. But they did ruin.
Jerks.
What was the best outfit?
The Dany whore.
Oh, God. I don't know why I didn't put that.
I loved it so much because, like, I always just normally I end up commenting on one outfit through each episode, so I just choose that as my MVP. So that was, or my MVP outfit. So that's why I chose that one. What is your best outfit?
I put Marjorie's post-coital King Landing style gown because.
I thought you just meant when she was naked.
No. She puts on this robe that's definitely like a Cersei style gown. And to me, that is symbolic of her moving into that queen role. She's starting to not dress like a Highgarden person anymore.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. I'll accept that, but the Dany whore was better.
No, that was better. I can't believe I didn't even think of. I was just thinking, like, going through the scenes in my head, like, okay, which characters were in these? Dany whore totally wins.
Yeah, but yours is a better one because it actually like shows like symbolism of Game of Thrones and things of that
Yeah,
nature.
but the Dany whore was like my favorite moment from this series in a long time.
It was a good moment. Good moment.
Yeah.
All right. So thanks for listening to our podcast.
We have new episodes on Wednesdays following an episode of Game of Thrones.
Subscribe on iTunes and leave us a review if you'd like.
We have a page on Facebook. It is facebook.com/BAMFpod, BAMF pod.
And you can send us questions, comments, or concerns to bamfpod@gmail.com.
You can follow the show on Twitter @BAMFpod.
You can follow your host. I'm at Liz Loxley.
And I'm at XOMiaMoore.
Also, you can find more info at lilomimo.com/BAMF.
As well as our donate button because podcasting is expensive.
And Valar Morgulis.
Valar Dohaeris.